Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Paramystic Christina. I'm your host, Christina Bloom, and I am here today with Annabelle Ivaya, who is an intuitive mentor and healer and getting certified in astrology. So she's super excited about astrology. And how are you, Annabelle?
I'm good. I'm excited. It's great to be on the other side because I do my podcast too. That's how we met. And I was like, "Ooh, this is nice. I like to do both ends, to look at both ends." I'm very, very excited to have this beautiful conversation. Our first conversation was really exciting too. So I
Right.
know it's gonna go the same way. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, you're very welcome. And as you can see, I'm back in my own studio. I was in a cabin last time we talked, so that was beautiful too. But it's nice to be back in my own studio. So, what is on your mind? And we are coming up. Wow, what is this? We're coming up to the end of January already, and this year is like flying by in slow motion in some ways. You know what I mean? Does that make sense to you? Like astrologically,
Mhm.
does that make sense?
Well, okay, so just to give, because maybe some of your viewers or listeners are actually more certified than I am, but so I haven't learned the transit yet. I'm learning the natal chart. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you learn about, the aspects between the planets and the houses, the pie pieces of your natal chart. That's what I'm learning more and more and more. And well, of course, and now I'm following a lot more astrologer and I understand more what they say. Because at the beginning you're like, what? I don't understand what everything that they're
It's
saying.
easy to
So
get lost in all that
it is
information. Yeah, it's a lot
because
of information.
I do believe that as an astrologer, we become astrologers are very passionate about the stars and everything. And I think we really want, once you love something, you want to go deep into it. But I think we lose this part very fast of like what it was about at first when we didn't understand anything. So I think it's very important to remind ourselves. And I think that's probably why astrologers are trying to make videos as they evolve, because then it kind of helps people to follow them along. I think that's kind of what I'm seeing for myself even.
Okay, that makes
But
sense.
yeah, so it's just like helping you to see your chart and understanding what every part means. And then later on, I'm gonna dive into one planet more in all of the aspect, and I'm gonna make a video about it. And then you're gonna be like, oh yeah, okay, like kind of makes sense. And of course, a reading helps
Right,
understanding that, or studying astrology, because it's an infinite amount of knowledge there.
right.
So to go back to your question, um, I feel. There's so much. So this week we speak and we have the Sun and Pluto conjunct. They're together. We say conjunct, it's just that they're touching each other or they're really close to each other in the sky,
Okay.
which means that their energy is very close. So the Pluto is transformation,
Hmm.
it's death and rebirth. It's an energy that most people don't really like. It's the
I
shadow
will go
part.
along with that. Yeah.
When we do healings, like we were talking about it before, I believe in a podcast with me, and it was that like a lot of healers, we learn to go deep into the shadows because we know that's where the transformation exists. So the planet Pluto, that's what it represents. So if it's really close to the sun, which is our ego, but also like the personality we have, the way people see us in the world type of thing. So it might have been this week, we might have felt a bit of that. Like, okay, like what are the transformation and how people see me, how I want to be seen in the world. So that could be kind of things that were brought up to the surface. But also we have still Mars in retrograde, which is it's interesting. Actually, it was in retrograde when I was born, and it's actually very rare. It happens every 2 years and for a couple months. So it's not like constant.
Hmm.
And it's an energy that's very weird. And now it's back in Cancer. So it's very kind of emotional. We had this full moon in Cancer too. It's like, okay, what are my emotions? How do I want to go about my emotions and still like feeling that there is like, it's like if all of the energy moving forward, we don't all have it. It's like I'm seeing it for myself and in my business. Like I have all of these ideas. I want to put them into motion. And then I'm like, no, wait. And I'm like, what is that energy? It's like, go, no, yes, no.
You
I'm like,
know,
I'm
you're
back
not
and forth.
alone in that. Can I just say, you're not alone in that? I have talked to so many people just in the last, well, just this week, okay? And today is what, Thursday. So in the last few days. And so many people are saying, I was going gangbusters and then bam, what happened?
Yeah,
Oh, wait, here comes a wave. I'm going to ride that wave. And then they get back on the wave and then bam. It's like,
I know.
it's enough to
It's
make you
quite
dizzy.
confusing.
Yeah.
I think we, and what my feeling is for 2025 and probably beyond, but this year we have to be okay with not knowing the uncertainty of our path and letting go of the ways we used to do things. And I'm full of chills as I say that. It's like we have been used to do work a certain way, even launching new project a certain way, or like whatever it is that we do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's like this kind of momentum that we know, but those momentums are going to change. Pluto in Aquarius is all about change. Aquarius energy is the little waves when you look at it in the chart.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Uranus energy. It's the change, is that they're seeing outside the box. So if we're going through that word well around the globe, we're gonna
Right.
go individually as well. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's also that's like if it's like, okay, this is a good idea. What if it's not the only idea? Because I feel for me, and maybe you'll tell me if that's how it feels. And for my clients, I feel it's been like that too. It's like we have an idea, we go for it. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like I have an idea, I'm gonna let it sit a little bit, and then it's like as soon as we get the momentum or the idea, we want it to birth already. And I feel the co-creation with the universe is changing. It's like, yes, that's a good idea. It's not that it's not gonna happen, but maybe it's not gonna happen in the sequence that you're thinking it's gonna happen.
Right.
And I believe that we're gonna have to flow with so many changes. Just yesterday I get a very clear clarity that I'm gonna be moving again. And I'm like, okay. And for me, it's never really like moving, 2 hours away type of thing. So I'm like, okay,
All right, a
this
new
is
country.
great.
Woohoo.
Yeah, well, this is great. I love when it happens. But then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, but all of the other things, right? That
Mm-hmm.
come with that. So it's like I feel, and I have a lot of Uranus in my chart also. Like sometimes some people will have more aspects to this
Mm-hmm.
planet or to Aquarius itself. So if it's very present, we are going to be called to change more things. And I think there was a deep inner trust last year. Do you remember that? Like for me, it was like trust, Annabelle. So it's going to be okay. It was a
Yeah.
lot of that last year. Even like there was a lot of crumbling and then not knowing and uncertainty that were very difficult, I think, for the human beings on planet.
Right.
For the ego part, even more
Right.
so. Why it's like, no, I want to control and I can't. Um,
Last year was a really easy year for me, right up
oh,
until December.
oh, that's great though. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that some
Yeah.
people, because I think if everybody would have a really hard time at the same time, it would be hard to help each other energetically, even if we don't
Mm-hmm.
work together. And like we can't be all in the same waves of things, right? We need to be in
Right.
different places in the ocean, let's say. And I feel this year the changes are they're going to be fast and sudden. So maybe what I'm feeling is like a lot of us are like, yeah, but nothing is changing, nothing is moving, nothing is happening. And then boom, we have a wave like, okay, oh my God, what's happening there? So I think we're going to be in that. Does that make
You
sense?
know what I'm picturing as you're talking? Like I'm a pretty visual person, so it comes to me visually, but it's like being in a kayak in really rapid, rocky waters, like having to navigate really quickly and then it's smooth for a while and then, oh crap, there's a drop off. Boom, land. Yeah, like that's what I'm picturing as
Yeah.
you're talking.
Yeah. And it's like the message I keep getting this year is like you've trained for this part of ascension so many lifetimes. Can you
Yes.
remember that? Because a lot of the time the ego's like, oh my God, this is not going the way I want. This is not what I'm expecting, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, no, You came for this specific time. That was going to
Yes.
be chaotic. You knew it was going to be chaotic. And you have all of the tools, and you do have your kayak and
Mm-hmm.
your paddles. You
Yep.
do have, you know,
And
things
your
to
helmet.
yeah.
Your helmet.
And your life vest, and you know
Don't
you're gonna
forget
be
your
okay.
helmet and your life vest. You're going to need them. Yeah.
You're gonna be okay, but don't expect 2025 to be like the smooth sailing. I think everybody's saying that. Like it's if
Hmm.
we I think it's when we expect things to be smooth and to go exactly the way that they're supposed to go, quote unquote. This is when we're feeling very bad, I think. We're feeling like it's well, we don't understand with the mind, and then we try to control more, and it just, spins.
Hmm. Wow. That's kind of what I was seeing too. And I recently did a 2025 prediction show with my friend Glenn. And basically that's what came out too. Like it's going to be a lot of up and down. It's going to be a lot of um, insanity, a lot of people leaving the planet, and from what I can tell, a lot of people also coming to the planet. So, there's like this big shift, not only with us personally, but in humanity as a population,
Yeah.
with a lot of people leaving and new people coming in. And of course, the new people coming in are babies, right? So that's, what's that going to look like in 20 years? But you know what? Let's just get through now. Let's just get through
Right,
now.
because that my
Yeah.
teacher was talking about it. It was like the babies right now, they all have their Pluto planet in Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So they were
Yeah.
like, he was just explaining how because of Pluto, because it moves so slowly that there's generations with the energy. So
Mm-hmm.
like anyway, so it's very interesting to see like the
Right.
whole that's why we say that those children are the future, right? They're the futuristic thinkers. They're gonna one that are gonna build the new cities, the new ways of doing things, new ways of thinking about things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think those babies are gonna want anything that we're experiencing right now in any area, like the
Right.
healthcare system and then the schooling system. I think they're gonna be like, no, 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 I'm not even going there.
Right.
You
Exactly. Like
know?
that didn't work decades ago. We're not even going to waste our time with it. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, I
right.
agree. I agree. It's so fascinating to me to listen to people who actually understand astrology because I've had a handful of astrology readings in my life, and I always walk out dazed and confused and completely overwhelmed with energy. It's like there's no way to really just could you just, give me a summary? And people are like, sure, I'll give you a summary. And a half hour later, I'm still getting a summary and I'm going too much, overload of information.
Right,
Like it's a
right.
lot of information when you're dealing with that.
And I think that's why, I'm just starting to do readings now, and I'm like I'm gonna do sun, moon, and rising sign. And it's gonna be 45 minutes, and we're gonna leave it at it. If you're starting, because otherwise that's the part. Because we get so because then we have like those bubbles. It's like when you're very passionate about something. Oh yeah, but I can tell you about this too. That's also linked with this. It's just such a I don't know. For those that love it, it just we can say so much. And a
Right.
chart is so complex. Like I've been looking at mine. That's what we do, right? When you learn astrology, you use a lot yours as a barometer of like learning how the planets interfere with each other, how they're linked to each other, what they're
Mm-hmm.
the impact of the house and everything. But I'm still learning, and I know I'm going to be still learning about my own chart for a few years more. And I've had hours and hours and hours and hours of courses, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
so,
Because there's
so
so
that's
much
why
information.
readings,
Yeah.
right? That's why readings, I think it's important. I think the way I see myself as doing it, I want to merge healing and astrology because I think otherwise, that's for me, it's always been like that. Like I'm gonna
Mhm.
go to I did like a QHHT, like
Yeah.
past
Yeah.
life regression
Quantum
thing.
healing. Yeah.
Right. But then I was like, yeah, but I want to heal. Like I wanted to heal. Like sometimes it was too informational. I was like, yeah, but I want to heal what's there. So I learned it's like the Akashic Records reading, but you need to
Hmm.
do the healing that goes with that.
Right.
That's my point of view.
I agree.
right? So it's like,
Yeah.
because otherwise you have all of those lifetimes that you know that you have, but like, what do you do with that when you go back home? Like, it's like, I don't know, right? It's just
Right?
overwhelming. Oh yeah, I was like doing this and I did that, and then the emotions and the trauma and whatever, right? So for me, that's the part. Now the combination I've thought about doing is very new, but it's like an astrological reading with the aspect where which you want to work on, because you're going to
Hmm.
be telling me, because we're not going to look at the whole of your chart. You're going to be overwhelmed, and as you said, you're going to be like, ah, no, I know less than I thought I was going to know more.
Right? Exactly. You walk out going, okay, now I'm more confused than I was when I got here. Okay.
And
Yeah.
then the second session is going to be, okay, what came up when we did the reading, and let's heal that through
Hmm.
all of the other, psychic healing abilities I have.
I
So
love that.
it'll be, yeah, I think it's going to be more that's what I love, like combining things. And I think anyone
Hmm.
out there that have gifts, like combine your courses together, make it your own. That's what makes you unique. Anyone that
Exactly.
would do
Yeah.
exactly what I'm telling you will do it in a very unique way.
Hmm.
So just find your uniqueness. It's so important.
I agree. I agree. I love the way that you put words together with that too. I do. I love the way that you just make it all make sense because I've had other people say similar things, and by the time they're done, I'm glazing over because they've just made it so much more complicated. Where you've just gone like, you know what? Take some QHHT, take some astrology, take some Reiki, take some intuitive healing, put it together for each individual because none of us are exactly the same. And
Exactly.
we all have similarities, of course, but none of us are exactly the same, and we don't always process information the same way. So I love the way you break it down, and you're like, okay, well, we're just going to deal with moon, sun, and rising, and that's all we're doing. We're not bringing in all 12
We could, but that's
aspects.
the part. It's way too much. And I had readings in the
Yeah,
past too. And because now I would have a reading now, it would be so different because now I understand the energies. I know what the house mean. I mean, it's just so
right.
people are gonna say things and it's gonna be, oh, I saw it my way, and now you're putting things together more, right? That would
Mm-hmm.
be the way that it would work. But for somebody starting, I think it's too much information.
Right,
Unless you have somebody kind of mentoring you, which
right.
is, to kind of understand more. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I like, and I think for me, interestingly, Mercury is a very present planet for me, which is the planet of communication, and I have a lot of aspects to that, and that's a part that I came here to be able to say things that I'm learning in ways that people understand, not like using the big words, and I've always been kind of drawn to how can I see it so that anyone on the planet understands? Because if I start being the professional, then I become an expert, and then just there's just so many people that can understand what I'm saying. The rest of the
Right.
world can't,
It
right?
kind of creates a gap.
Right,
Yeah, yeah.
right.
Um, it's really I think for me astrology is very interesting personally because I have so much of one sign in my
Yeah.
chart. Yeah. I have had readings from different astrologers doing using different types of astrology. So
Right.
anywhere from 5 to 8 Virgos in my chart,
Ooh, wow. Yeah, that's intense.
including sun and moon. So it's
Ooh, oh, that's a big learning for your soul. That
oh
means.
yeah, big learning curve for my soul.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I
And
find
yet
it
you're on the other side doing healing, which is very Piscean, right?
right.
Which
And
is
there's no
exactly the
Pisces.
opposite, right?
I don't remember any Pisces in my chart, but I do know my rising is Scorpio, which I think is part of it
Yeah,
too.
very
Yeah.
intuitive. Yes, yes, yes. And
Right.
the rising, from what I understand, is who you came here to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? The moon is your safety jacket, what creates calm within you. And then the sun is how people see you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting, right?
It
Because
is.
Scorpio is where your soul expands the most, I would think.
I would think so. Yeah, that makes sense to me. But it is interesting to me, again, on a personal level, because I don't know many people who actually know what's in their chart that have so much of the same sign. of any
They probably
sign.
have a stellium there. They probably have a stellium, like when there's more than three planets in a row in one sign. That's when we call it a stellium.
Hmm.
I do
And
have one
yeah,
in Libra, so I know
do
that
you?
I
Okay.
hold a lot of Libra energy, for example. And depending if those planets are very important, right? I mean, all of the planets are important, but if you have Saturn, it means something different than if it's Pluto, than if it's like other people, like other ones. And then the aspects between each other. And as I said, like if already close already um a position is meaning something else, it's
Hmm.
always so fascinating. But and that's the part, no one on this earth has the same chart. Even
Right,
they were saying, even twins, they have different things. It's not going to be exactly the same, even if
right.
they have lots of the same, let's say, planets around the chart. The experience of a one sign can be completely opposite. You can have a lot of it, or you can have very least of it. It depends.
Hmm.
And usually, if one of the two twins has it a lot, the other one is not going to have a lot, and vice versa, right? It's
Right,
probably
right.
going to be experienced like that at home, I would think.
That would be interesting. That would be
Yeah.
very interesting. I know that in my birth chart, all but three something are in 10 and 11, and the others exactly across. So there's like a whole lot of emptiness in my chart. So
Right.
yeah, that's really, I don't understand. People have tried to explain it to me, and I'm just like, okay, well, you lost me 10 minutes in, but
Right.
I
Because
do, yeah.
there are axes. The
Mm-hmm.
axes on the left are the individual energies. The
Mm-hmm.
axes on the right are the collective energies. So if you have
Okay.
a lot on the right side, if you take it from the middle, right?
Yeah.
Then you have a lot of groups energy that you're coming here to experience. And if you're on the right side, you're more in the individualistic, let's say, part of the chart that you're wanting to experience, or that you came with, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
that's like the short version.
Right. I find the whole thing fascinating but
I
overwhelming.
know. And I think
Yeah.
that's the part. I think for me, and I think that's probably why you can't learn astrology in 5 weeks and say like, okay, I'm an astrologer. I mean, there are so many parts, moving parts to it. And what I'm feeling is every time I had a class, there's a reason we have usually at least a month in between our classes because they're weekends long. They're very
Mm-hmm.
like intense, but it takes a month to actually just anchor, and you don't want to go back too much into. It's not about like learning everything by heart, because it needs to sit in and it needs to
Right.
integrate. I mean, everybody learns a different way, right? But it feels to me like I need to leave it and then I go back to it, or life is going to bring me things and I'm going to be like, oh, that's the energy of that's activating within me. Ooh, this is interesting, yeah. Then you can make
Right.
links between everything that's happening. Yeah.
Right. And my experience with astrologers, and again, I've been in this field for 25 years. I've met a lot of astrologers and a lot of Reiki healers and a lot of everybody, pretty much. So, my experience has been that with astrologers, those who apply it to themselves and fully integrate and understand it with themselves are better able to explain it to other people.
Yeah. It makes
Yeah.
sense. It makes sense
Yeah.
because if I do understand, for example, we were talking about the Pluto energy,
Mm-hmm.
how my Pluto is affecting me,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be a lot easier to explain it to somebody else. Of course,
Right.
depending where it is, it's going to be a different story and definition, but it just, yeah, I do agree. I do agree. You need to like put in practice. I mean, it's like that for everything. Let's say, there's like spiritualists that will know a lot of things. They can recite all of the quotes from everybody,
They
right?
know it all, but they
They
don't
know
know
it
it
all here.
all.
But it needs to be felt. It needs to be
Yeah.
integrated. I'm still doing shadow work every month. I'm not like, repulsed by it. It's okay. It's okay. It's
Right.
part of life. That's where we came here. But I walk the talk, and I think that's for anything that we learn. I think,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's why, and I think we had touched upon it in my podcast, the authenticity, right? How
Mm-hmm.
important we feel it is to show up in a way. I'm me here. You would see me in the street. You would see the same person, and at the grocery store as well, and in
Right.
my one-on-one session. is the same person. You're going to sense the same energy. And I think this authenticity that we hold when we integrate our learnings and we grow and continue to learn is
Right.
very, very important in this world right now.
I agree. Those of us who are willing to jump into our own shadows. I don't know about you. I don't have the strength to be a different person in different environments. I just don't. This is, I'm authentically myself. And if you can't deal with me, well, it's okay.
Right,
you
right,
know,
right. Because it acts like a magnet to the right people and
to the
then a
right people.
repulsive for other people that just don't resonate with it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think I had mentioned it might have been on your show where I had read a study that they scientifically measured energy when people were doing or what's the word? Like they were focusing on love or they were focusing on anger or they were focusing on sadness or whatever. And somewhere in this experiment where the scientists would say, "Okay, just be who you are. Just be comfortable in who you are. Just be who you are." And what they found out that authenticity is actually the strongest magnetic force in existence. It has, it's stronger than love, it's stronger than hate, it's stronger than all of that. And it doesn't matter if you're authentically a good, loving person or if you're authentically a jerk. It doesn't matter. Authenticity is a stronger force of energy than anything else, which is
Yeah.
pretty incredible, I think, that it took us that long to figure it out.
Yeah, and it's interesting that it's happening right now too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think, with everything that's coming up and that will continue to come up this year and in the future years about everything and everything about this 3D planet
Uh-huh.
and its inhabitant and whatever happened on this planet, it'll be interesting. And I think that's, I wouldn't call it a weapon, but the more important part of us is being authentically ourselves, looking,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can connect with the authenticity of others. You know,
Exactly.
somebody that's authentic will know if the person in front of them is authentic or not. I mean, we can smell it, right? We
Oh yeah. We can smell it, we can feel it, we can hear it, we can see it. Like all the
Right.
senses just go, "Ooh, there's one of my people."
Right,
Right.
exactly. And it's not to separate ourselves. It's more like I think there's a strength in number that's coming now. It's like
Mm-hmm.
we've been separated for so many years doing different light work around the globe, and of course there's these beautiful mediums of online, right, to connect, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel we're going to be magnetized to the right places with more people in person.
Mm-hmm.
I know you do a lot of fairs and all these things. I think you've
Right.
met a lot of spiritual people. For me,
Right.
interestingly, I think in the States, the fairs are, and in the UK, I heard they still have those fairs. In Canada, it was like yes and no, like there was not so many of those. And then in Mexico, not really.
Okay.
Like it's not as common as I would
Right.
say as that I would
Right.
see it in the States. Um, so yeah, so it's like I think we're gonna be magnetized to each other because we're ready for this new earth and we understand and we can be there authentically with each other too. It's like somebody, imagine if we have just a few people around us that see us as we are and hold us if we're in pain, if we're
Right.
happy, if we're sad, if we're in grief, and they always have our back. We never have to express ourselves differently. They just, yes, I'm here whatever happens. I have a
Right.
couple of those friends and I don't have millions of those, but they're very helping me a lot through all of those challenges, and I think all of us need those. So authenticity, I think that's what, and vulnerability. If you're never
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable, you're not super authentic, I guess.
That would be that I would agree with that. Yeah, I would
Right.
agree with that. If you can't be vulnerable, how can you be authentic?
Yeah, and for
Yeah, I
me it was a
agree.
learning. I'm telling you that
Yeah,
vulnerability was not something that was very comfortable because of how I grew up, and it was just always like don't cry and don't show emotions and don't be too sensitive. So I think I
same.
kind of,
Yeah.
and there's some things in my chart that would say that too. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I would say learning to be vulnerable with good people changes our lives.
Right.
Definitely.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah, it does change our life. I think because then you always have this peace. It's like it brings us peace. And I do believe that this matrix, this planet, whatever we want to
Mm-hmm.
call it, did everything they can so that we would not find these people, so that we would stay separated and in our little cage and be scared of opening our heart again and being scared of being hurt again. And but there's
Mm-hmm.
so much strength and we heal so much faster when we have these people around us where we can actually show a bad day, a good day. And it sometimes people as their partner. I'm single, it's been years now, so I don't have a partner with me, but I do have those couple friends that I know they will always be there for me. And I'm telling you, I feel this is where we're heading. Those that
Mm-hmm.
choose that, right? Those that
Right.
don't, but yeah.
Right. And also the narrative that I'm seeing the narrative change, even online, even in social medias, even in um, I don't know, chat groups or whatever. So chat groups are making a comeback, but now they're just calling them something else. So, but what I'm seeing is that it used to be like, well, online friends aren't real friends. And that narrative is changing because we're understanding that energy is not dependent on proximity.
Yeah.
You know, I
Most of
can,
my best friends aren't. There's one I've seen. I saw her once or twice, and the other one we haven't met yet
yeah.
in person. And it doesn't change at all the contact. I think it's deeper than a lot of people I saw many, many, many times in my life.
Right?
Right.
Exactly. Exactly. The people in my neighborhood, I am not as nearly as close to as some of the people I've met online and,
Right.
really created not just um, friendships, but work relationships that turn into friendships. And now that so many of us are doing podcasting, we're really connecting on a different level because we're having these deeper conversations and then we're publicizing these deeper conversations, so more people are having access to real communication,
Yeah.
even if they're not directly involved in it.
Yeah. And like the image I was seeing as you were talking, was like these waves of energy, they're just spread out. And as you said, it's like, oh yeah, I'm connecting to this energy. It really feels like home. That's what we're realizing,
Yeah.
that our home frequency is for most of us is not related to our surrounding. I mean, sometimes that helps. I can tell
Right.
you my experiences. There are definitely places that do not support us energetically.
Right.
I can say
Right.
that,
Exactly. Exactly.
but there are with people, let's say there are waves. And I know, like, just this conversation we have, how much beautiful waves of light and truth and new understanding we're sharing with the world, even if it's
Hmm.
not like a million people that watch this episode. It still doesn't work because we're there connecting.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's very interesting to me that I can have connections with people in different countries. I can have, we're in different states. We just have those connections, and we connected because you made a post on Facebook saying I'm looking for guests for my podcast. Well, here we are. I've done your podcast. You're doing my podcast, but in these conversations, you and I are connecting more, and I feel like as that's happening, more people are feeling it.
Yeah.
More people will watch one or the other, and they'll go, those two really connected. Now I feel more connected to that message or to those
Yeah.
messages that they're bringing through. And it's such a beautiful medium that we don't have to go to radio stations or TV stations anymore to be able to connect with people. And it feels more real. It feels more, not that those weren't real. I think that there were some of the older talk shows and whatever that had some really good stuff. And even some of the new talk shows, they've got some good stuff. But I feel like this is more accessible, it's more
Yeah.
available. You don't have to be at home on Tuesday at 3 p.m. to watch a show.
Right.
You download it on your phone and away you go. And so I feel like technology overall has been more helpful than hurtful in helping people connect. And
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
yeah,
I think it's and it's the way that we use it. I know not so long ago I had to like take myself completely out of social media. There was a lot of noise where I live, and I just was like I couldn't bear anything else
yeah,
coming my way. I was like, okay, no more. And I think it was pretty great energetically to just not do any of it. It
yeah,
was hard at first because let's let's say we can be addicted to that,
Oh
not
yeah.
spending my whole day there, but still, we're looking a few times a day on our phone and everything, right? So I think it's like, how do we want to use it? And that's what I think, going back to Pluto in Aquarius, that's what is going to come. A lot of AI and everything, expansion for that as well, definitely. And I'm seeing that more online for now, but we'll see in the streets not so long from now.
Mm-hmm.
And but also that, how, what is it like? It's like the power to the people, the
Yes.
power of change to the people. It's very different than
That's a
what
great
we
way to put it.
experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
So
great
how
way
do
to
you
put
want to
it.
use the social media? I think we're going to see different new social media platforms that are going to be more supportive of the energy we want, instead of being still a bit like top down type of like,
Mm-hmm.
you can say this, but not that, those type of things.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I think it will be interesting to see how this all evolves, but it will be, I think I think it's that's those are all timelines that are available to us. And I feel,
Mm-hmm.
because it's power to the people, what are the people choosing, right?
Right. And different people are choosing different things. You can see that now as different networks are coming to light or, coming into existence and different people are going where they feel comfortable in those different platforms. And interestingly enough, I think that's how 5D and 3D split is showing itself is where are we going energetically, literally energetically online. Where are we going? And
Yeah.
that is so painfully obvious and people are missing it. And I just think it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I agree that I think there's gonna have so many more of that. Like those are layers, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
we feel, and I think a lot of the times when I do my little updates on my YouTube, and I'm like, how does it feel? This
Yeah.
feels achy when you go somewhere physically, when you look online. Like, just trust that. This is your best bet, is that this is not good for your energy fields right now. You can
Right.
go back to it later, maybe, if you want to. Or maybe you can quit looking at this or going to this place. I mean, there is this vibration, and we're so being called to trust it now.
Yes. Yeah. And we're all being called to, in addition to connecting with each other, it's no, mm, the words are coming kind of weird, but I have the concept here. But it's more like instead of trusting institutions, we're trusting ourselves.
Exactly. No more power outside of ourselves.
Right, right. We just did a podcast on Clubhouse this morning, and the topic was very much about we are our own authorities.
Exactly.
And coming, it feels like we're kind of circling around to, because everything is kind of circular, but I feel like we're circling around to it at a higher level,
Right.
you know?
I think that's also sometimes why people are shying away from that, because I am responsible for me now, nobody else.
Mm-hmm.
So if it doesn't go well, you cannot put the blame on anybody else.
Right, exactly.
It's probably not your version of yourself now that put yourself now there, but it's the past decisions. But what do you want to do now? It's
Right,
like, it's more, maybe more pressure, quote unquote, on our shoulders, but it's so much more empowering than waiting for an exterior institution, a person to tell us what to do. It's,
right,
I think, in the most divine connection, like this rawness of who we are, it's not normal to look outside of ourselves for answers. I don't think so. Even us, we're here to guide, but we're not going to
right,
tell you what to do. You decide what you
right,
do with the energies we share, the messages that come. Does it feel good to you? Okay, go do it. If it
right.
doesn't, do something else.
Right, exactly, exactly. And I always tell people it is not my job to tell you what to do. All I can do is connect with you, with your higher self, with your spirit guides, with the universe, and tell you what's coming through. You get to take that information and make your own decisions. And but I have found, I mean, I had to start saying that a lot more because I was finding that people were really depending on me too much.
Right.
You know.
Because I think there's this balance. Imagine it's like, they're showing me, like, we're on the platform where everybody is telling us everything what to do. Then and then there's like this, like, I'm sovereign and I do everything my own, right? But
Right,
we need a bridge between the two. It's like we don't rarely jump there. And I think that's where we all try to find books that help us, and then a healer, and then this session, that other session, that's this knowledge, whatever.
right,
And I think sometimes people want to go back to the institution, but they know it's not good. and they attach to somebody like us that have the are healers, and you're like, well, I'm glad to share a space, a sacred space, and sacred messages, and to be
Hmm.
supportive. But in the end, you're still giving your power away if you're waiting for somebody else to tell you what you should be doing next in your relationship, before you work, for all of the areas of your life, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. I love empowering people to empower themselves. That's kind of my unofficial tagline. I love doing that because I don't depend on me to make your life decisions for you. I'm not going to, you know.
exactly,
I'm not going to
exactly.
make those decisions, but I will help you find it within yourself. I will help you find your own energy within yourself to build your own energy. And honestly, I think we've all been there. I think we've all been at a place where we just feel completely depleted,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
powerless, and it's
and
just like, I don't know what to
powerless.
do,
And I
and
don't know what
yeah.
to do, and I'm lost and I'm confused, and I just have no energy to figure it out. And, that's where people like us come in, is because we can help you boost your energy. We can maybe loan you some of our energy, but we're still not going to live your life for you.
Right, and it's like we're gonna use a flashlight and like shed light onto something that maybe you had not seen and not looked
Yeah,
at, and we're gonna cleanse maybe some things with you there with your, so that it's, you can connect back to your heart. I do
right.
have a membership, and we do like connections, and then we do a healing. I always kind of channel a healing session at the end, like a meditation, deep
Hmm.
meditation. And then people are like, oh my God, like I feel so calm and I feel so good. Thank you. And I'm like, this is your energy. Yes, I channeled the meditation and the energies and the light language and everything,
Hmm.
but this frequency you feel now, I have nothing to do with it. This is yours. And this
Right,
is you without the chaos of the planet, without the thoughts, without the worries, without the 3D trying to kind of infiltrate. This is your purest energy.
right.
And when they connect to that, you're like, oh my God. Like the first time, I think most people, even me, I remember when it was, and I was like, I can be that calm, really? And have nothing in my head? Wow. I couldn't believe it.
I still right now have some difficulty having nothing in my head, I'll be honest. Like my brain always wants to work on something,
Right,
and
right. You probably have a lot of Mercury yourself,
oh
or
yeah,
energy, that
maybe.
air energy, air energy. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little Mercury in my chart. But it is interesting to me though, how willing people had been in the past to just turn over their power. And I'm
And
seeing
that
less
was
and
new
less of.
age, right? That was
Yeah.
new age, I guess, right? That's kind
Well,
of,
and that was, I mean, I'm thinking of like my grandparents, anybody in a white coat,
mm,
they just turn their power over. And
yeah.
I'm seeing that
Because
less
they
and
were so
less.
programmed to see themselves like, I am this little human with no, not so many rights, not so much power anyway.
Right.
So,
And
you
I
know,
don't have, 10 years of education, and blah blah blah.
who am I, right?
Who
Yeah.
am I? Who am I to tell you that this is what I feel? I'm sorry, what? You know, and I really feel like people are more empowered now, and I definitely feel like connection to the rest of the world has something to do with that.
I mean, we're so expanded. If you would have
Yeah.
told me 10 years ago that I would have friends in the UK, in Australia, that I would know. I mean, we have online businesses, of course, but
Hmm.
still, man, I mean, it's amazing when you think about
Right.
it,
Right.
right? It started with Facebook, where we're like, oh my God, it's gonna be like pictures. And I was just moving to the other side of my country, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna be able to share pictures and see where we're at now with groups, and like being able to share things, not always everything, but still,
Yeah. Right. Right.
there's still a connection that
Right.
was created for me. You take this platform away, I don't think I would have a business right now. It
Yeah.
was my main source of finding people, helping people, connecting with people around the globe.
Same. Same
Yeah.
here. Yeah. With having clients and friends and business associates all over the world, you
I
know?
know, isn't it
And
amazing?
it
Yeah.
is amazing, but we wouldn't have that without social media. We wouldn't have that without
Exactly.
the internet. But we
Yeah.
also wouldn't have people going, maybe the system we're in isn't working as well as it could be because
Yeah.
we are talking to people who live in other systems,
Right. Right, right,
you
right.
know?
And it's You know what I'm seeing as you say that? It's like as the old is melting, there's this
Hmm.
stream of light that comes, and that's the stream of light we all have. And it's like, oh, we don't need all of those things. I mean, we need some of the things, but you know what I
Right.
mean? It's like it dissolves the things that are not serving so
Hmm.
that we connect and remember you're like me, I'm like you. Okay,
Yes.
we have countries and it's like customs and whatever.
Right.
But
Right.
in the end, there's a lot more alike between us than there isn't, I feel.
Right. Right. Exactly. You know, someone from another country recently asked me, what is, describe to me what the American culture is. And I'm like, well, it depends on what town you're in. I mean, because first of all, we have way too much land to have one culture. You know, like it's very different cultures everywhere, but it really almost depends just on your neighborhood. It depends on your family. It depends on, we all have different customs and cultures. I don't think that there is one American culture, you
It's a
know?
mix of everything. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, how
Exactly.
many people from all around the globe in your country? In most countries now, but still, the
Mm-hmm.
States is multicultural. Most
Right.
places, right? It's just,
Most places are now multicultural. And
yeah.
I love that personally. I think that's amazing. I want to be able to learn from my Muslim neighbors or my neighbors or friends or people in the neighborhood from Puerto Rico or Germany or South Africa. I want to be able to learn.
Yeah.
And I must be hungry because like different food is popping into my head as we're talking. But, just like I want to be able to taste those flavors, so to speak, whether it's actual food or whether it's really just sitting down and getting to know people.
I know. So I'm from Quebec City originally, which is like
Okay.
not very big. When I left, there was 500,000 people there. I mean, it's not like a big, huge metropolitan city.
Right.
Now it's doubled, but and then I moved to Vancouver on the other side. And in Quebec, it was mostly, white Caucasian people. There was a few, Black American people, but like very few Hispanophone, like Hispanic people, very few Asian people. Like it was like, and then when I got to Vancouver and it was so merged, I felt so alive. So alive. I was like, oh my God, this is great. I was like, I don't understand anything in the metro, but that's fine. I'm fine with that. There was so
Yeah.
many, and it was just how everybody like that's where I met the first Mexicans that therefore I'm here now. But and how all of these cultures were just merging and coexisting.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, very, for me, very, very exciting because I love as you. I think some of us are just more into cultural differences and travels and I know three languages. I know I learn more and but
Right.
yeah, it's we all have something special and I think it's there's more to see when you don't block yourself from where the person is from, but really see into their heart, into their soul and what they want to share.
Right. Exactly. And you described your experience from Quebec to Vancouver. I went from a small farm town in Wisconsin, literally like around 1,000 people, small farm town, to Seattle.
Oh wow. Yeah, in Seattle and Vancouver, they're pretty similar
Very
in
similar.
vibe, I think, and
Very,
weather.
yeah.
Yeah.
And weather, but
Wow.
also in vibe,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
because
yeah.
there's so many different cultures and so many different people and so many different, like even just languages. My younger son went to a grade school where there were 156 different languages spoken.
That's amazing.
In
It's
small town
incredible.
Wisconsin, like they
Yeah.
hadn't even mastered English. You know what I'm saying? So, like,
Right.
it's crazy, but yeah, it was a whole world. And then I just felt so at home there with all of the different people and the energies and the cultures and I got to try foods I'd never heard of and I got to talk to people from places I'd never heard of because I grew up so sheltered in
Right.
such a small area.
Right.
And then like my world opened up. And then I moved back to Wisconsin and it was culture shock. I didn't have culture shock moving there. I had culture
Yeah.
shock moving back,
Yeah. Yeah,
where everything was so
definitely.
small and so Caucasian and so
Yeah. It's
small.
hard. It's hard. I
Yeah.
know. For me, I went back this last summer to my hometown, and I had not been for like 5 years, and I was like, "Ooh, this is becoming like a merge." Like I could see, like hear different languages, and I was like, "Ooh, this is nice. I like that."
Yeah.
Not enough to stay there anymore, but it had expanded. That's good part.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think going back for me when I went back just for a few months after 4 years away, I was like, oh my God. Like it's like also when you travel and you move away from your hometown, you experience this expansion that is hard to describe to people that don't
Right.
travel or travel once a week to go to once a year to go to Cuba or you know what I mean? Like that
Right. The
like
same
not
place every
living
year without
right.
any expansion. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Well, we kind of do that. Like next week, we're going to well, by the time this airs, I'll be back. But um, we go to the Adirondack Mountains every year in
Oh
February,
yeah.
you
And
know?
those are places that you love, right? But
Right.
there's like, resting, nurturing experiences and but when you move somewhere else, it
Yeah.
creates a lot more changes than we
It
realize.
really
And it's when you
does.
go
Yeah.
back that you're like, "Ooh, okay. I it's like if I press pause, nobody changed and I'm like a new person and I'm like I don't know where I'm fitting with that." It was yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Definitely
Yeah, it
felt
is
that too. Yeah. Every
definitely.
time I went back, I was like, yeah, no. Can't live here. No, no, no. I tried. I tried to have
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
life there, but no.
You're
Yeah.
lovely people, but I think I'll go over there now.
Yeah.
This has been, we had decided not to really go in any particular direction. So this has been
Mhm.
a really interesting discussion. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. And Annabelle, how do people get a hold of you if they want to make an appointment with you or attend one
Right.
of your events or?
Right. So you can look at AnnabelleIvaya.love. This is my website. So if you know, you'll see my name there, but it's ANNABELLEIVAYA.love. You'll see all of the things that I do there. And you can also, yeah, I have, Instagram, which is Annabelle and then underscore intuitive mentor or Annabelle Ivaya on Facebook. Facebook is the place where I have the most followers and people that follow my
Okay.
work. But yeah, and now I'm doing astrology and then readings, mini readings and healings as well. And I just merge
Awesome.
everything together. So I'll be
Awesome.
very happy to connect with anyone that's interested.
Excellent. Thank you again so much. And
Thank
thanks
you for
everyone
having me.
for listening once again to Paramystic Christina, and we'll see you next time. Oh, and by the way, subscribe, ring the bell, share with your friends. Let's get all this great information out to more people. All right, thanks.